Concrete is kind of my career, but helping people is my passion. And I'm
Yeah.
lucky enough that I get to do both.
Hi, and welcome to this month's episode of Engineering Greatness, an original podcast series produced by the American Concrete Institutes. I'm Joe Grout, a student at Texas State University in San Marcos, Texas. With me here today is Emma.
Hi, everyone. I'm Emma Roth. I'm a student in the Concrete Industry Management program at South Dakota State University.
Welcome to the podcast. Let's begin. Let's start with that. So we're both majoring in concrete industry management, which is maybe a little different than what most folks are studying on this podcast. We hear a lot from civil engineers, but we're studying concrete industry management. Can you give us a little intro to what that is, Emma?
Yeah, so concrete industry management is a 4-year bachelor's of science degree. I at least know at South Dakota it's a bachelor's of science. I'm not sure what it is at Texas.
It is. It's the same
Okay.
here.
So it is a 4-year degree. You take management courses, you learn about mix designs in concrete, specifications. Here at South Dakota, we don't have a business minor, but we do have an option to take a marketing or a management minor. And you get to pick which route you want to take your second year, so your sophomore year of school. I am taking the marketing route because I would like to go into sales someday, whereas some of my buddies are taking management because they want to be a plant manager. So we do get a lot of exposure to the real world. We learn real world situations. We don't just sit behind a classroom all day long.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really great. So I think we both have some interesting stories about how we got into the CIM program. I know I've got a little bit more of a non-traditional story, but it sounds like you might have a little bit more of a traditional story. Do you want to tell us about your journey to CIM?
Yeah, so I grew up in and kind of around the industry. My dad was always a salesman for a construction and concrete like equipment company. So from a very young age, I went to job sites, I was around contractors, I was just around the construction industry. And so my dad now works for precast. So I do have a little bit of exposure to that. I did start college as an animal science major. However, I wanted
Oh,
to do
wow.
like genetics for animals and for farmers. And then after the first semester, I was like, this isn't really my niche. I'm gonna go back to what I was always exposed to, and that is concrete because I just love the process of building things, seeing things from start to finish, and just knowing that like I am helping build our future and build like buildings that are going to impact people's future is just very rewarding to me. So I did start traditionally straight out of high school. I'm in my senior year. I will be graduating in December. So I will be graduating early, which is pretty exciting. I have applied
Nice.
for my master's program. So I'm still
Oh, very good.
waiting to hear back from that. And fingers crossed we start in January. So yeah, I'm just gonna continue my education and kind of see where
Very
it
good.
goes and hopefully be done with all my schooling within the next 2 years. But I know that you mentioned that you kind of have a non-traditional route and you have a degree in computer animation. So I'm interested
Yeah.
to know how you started there and got all the way to concrete.
Yeah. So when I got out of high school, I went to school for animation because I didn't know what to do, and I've got a creative streak. And animation's great work, but it's a tough industry, and it's hard uh, when hard work doesn't always translate into career progression. And I decided that wasn't working for me, and I decided to pursue those interests separately. And I ended up working at a funeral home and cemetery where we worked with a precast manufacturer for the outer burial containers we used in the cemetery. And then, strangely enough, in my free time, I had worked my way into making concrete sculptures. And between those two, it got me thinking, like, maybe I should think about working with concrete.
Mhm.
And I was living in Austin at the time. And as I'm looking this up, I ran into a job with its preferred education experience as concrete industry management. And I'm like, what on earth is that? And wouldn't you know it, there's a program right next door in San Marcos. And I thought, well, I better check that out. And it seemed like a calling. So I I was hesitant to come back to school later in life, but the program really called to me, and there's a lot of great opportunities there. And so I figured, man, if I'm getting back to school, I really got to hit the ground running and make the most out of this. And I don't know about you, but I've certainly found there's been tons and tons of opportunities in the program. What opportunities have you found in the program?
So I have had an internship, a paid internship
Yeah.
every single summer, and that has just been a very unique opportunity versus what I see some of my friends going into.
Hmm.
They kind of have to search for jobs where me, I kind of have these underlying opportunities that I know will always be there for me.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's 100% job placement after graduation. We're always going to need concrete. That's literally the foundation of our world. So just
So,
knowing, oh, go ahead.
but jumping back there, who did you intern with?
So I have interned for a couple different companies. I started out my summer after freshman year. So the summer before sophomore year, I worked for a testing company in Sioux Falls. Their headquarters
Right.
are out of Minnesota. So I got a little field experience. I got my ACI certification through CIM, and I was like grateful enough to get that. So that really just helped me hit the ground running. And then the next summer, I transferred that quality control background into working for a ready mix company in Harrisburg, South Dakota, where I actually developed a new quality control system for them to use,
Wow.
keep track of their tests, keep track of their cylinders, and just kind of help their QC program flow. And I got to work hand in hand with their quality control tech and kind of teach him, okay, here's where we should start and here's where we should end. And that was really rewarding. And I actually got to present on that quality control process at the World of Concrete. So that was exciting. And then this past summer, I worked for a ready mix company, Lyman Ritchie. They are a CRH company. So their headquarters are in Omaha, but I worked in their Sioux City division, just kind of doing sales, looking at job sites, meeting new contractors. Because growing up in Sioux Falls, I knew a majority of the contractors just from growing up in the industry. So I was like, I need to move away from a while. I just need to get a new networking in and see like what else the Midwest has to offer. So I've had those job opportunities, but
That's awesome.
yes, it is amazing the opportunities were handed. And if I recall, you worked for Heidelberg Cement this past summer?
Close, close. So I interned with Wholesome, so a
Wholesome.
different cement company. That's right.
Right.
So yeah, I've had a couple different opportunities to do internships also. Nice thing, they're always paid internships. So I started first with an internship with the Air Force Research Laboratories, where I got to work on concrete 3D printing in New Mexico. Um, and that was a great opportunity. I got a chance to run some of my own tests, and that led to some opportunities to present about that research. And
Mhm.
one of those I presented at World of Concrete at the Weatherton competition.
Yes.
And one of our patron board members is works with Wholesome, and he saw me there and thought, "Hey, you should come work for Wholesome. You like getting involved with this research. You like talking, presenting, and talking about exciting work." Oh, they had opportunity for that. So I interned in their corporate lab this last summer, got to involve with research and kind of doing the work to help their clients get the best results out of their products. And in fact, I'm going to be interning with them again as a technical service intern, following their technical service engineers to take all that stuff out of the lab and help clients apply it in the field.
So kind of describe the difference between your last summer internship and then how like the technical one works. Like, is it more chemistry and then teaching customers about it, or how does that kind of
So
trans?
So the technical service side is a lot more customer facing. We're going to take the results we get from the lab and take them out into the field and apply them with customers. So what that means is we know that customers might run into a range of problems, or they have their own problems that they run into. And as technical service engineers, we're there to make sure they are able to work through those problems, get any support they need, and ideally just making sure they maintain a high value of our product, that they think, man, this Wholesome cement's the best, and continue to feel that way because we're helping them make sure they don't run into any problems or avoid those problems.
Very cool. Yeah. And then, so with your You mentioned going to New Mexico for 3D concrete. And I do remember you presenting that at the World of Concrete. And I think it's very interesting. So I think you should tell the viewers how the 3D, because in South Dakota, there are like 3D homes are becoming more popular here because we do get more snow and severe weather and everything. So I'm kind of interested to know what your research behind that is.
Cool. I'll give you the quick pitch of what I was looking at. So um, I thought it would be interesting to look at. There's this conflict in the mix design where we need it to go through the pipes, but then it also needs to stack on top of each other. So those
Mhm.
are conflicting demands that makes the mix really complicated, and a complicated mix is an expensive mix. So I thought if I was printing something like a dome and I was using sand as a support material, would that support allow me to have a mix that had less buildability or that ability to stack on top of each other? Does that sand support it enough where it can, minimize that dimension of the mix design? And I did some test runs to look at that, and it's seemed to indicate that it could increase the buildability while not chemically increasing the buildability. We can now print things that would usually need multiple molds to make in one go, but now with the 3D printer, you can do really complicated designs,
Mm.
even more so. So think of it as corrugated cardboard has, a wave going down the middle. And if you cut it down, you see that wave. But if you cut it vertically, you wouldn't see that wave. That's optimizing material placement in 2 dimensions. With the 3D printer and that support material, you could print a wall that had supports where if you cut vertically, you'd see the wave, and horizontally, you could still see that wave because of the complexity it would allow to print.
Okay, so that, yeah, that makes sense. So now my next question is, with your research and background in that, and I think you have a lot of history in research, if I remember
Mm-hmm.
right.
Yeah.
So would you want to be on the research side of the industry, or would you want to be more on the technical customer facing side of the
I
industry?
like the technical facing side because it allows me to still interface with that research side, but it gets a little bit more real world where we're looking at, we've got to apply this with customers and we got to, hit the ground running and figure out how to make it work. And so it's a really nice balance. It gets me out of the lab a little bit to look at these real world applications and actually solving them,
Yes.
and not purely just the theoretical, but there is research involved and there is aspects of, developing new things. So I'm finding it to be a really compelling balance between the two.
Yeah. Good for you for doing that research because there's
Thank
no
you.
way I could sit in a
Do you,
lab all day.
do you know what direction you're wanting to go to as you are getting out of school?
So I'm hoping to do sales,
Okay.
whether that means ready mix, chemical, precast, I love talking to people and I love not sitting behind a desk. So
Yeah.
I am very hands-on, very go, go, go. And like I mentioned earlier, like if I can help somebody build something that's going to impact other people's lives, that's very rewarding to me. And it's an honor to get to do that every day. So
Yeah.
I feel like sales puts me in a really good position of, okay, I can sell this product, but I can also gain a relationship with that customer. And then from that relationship, we can continue to help people forward. So concrete is kind of my career, but helping people is my passion. And I'm
Yeah.
lucky enough that I get to do both through the jobs I've been given.
That's awesome. So
I,
maybe we should talk a little bit about um, what we've done outside of our classes. Have you had a chance to get involved with ACI, and maybe tell us a little bit how you have?
yeah, so I am president of our ACI chapter. So we are
Nice.
not affiliated with SDSU. We are actually just nationally affiliated, but that works great for us. So I am the president of that. I actually I helped start the ACI club 3 years ago. And we have since grown. We started with about 10 kids, and now there's 51 kids in the program, and all of those kids are in the ACI club. So we haven't gotten a chance to go to any ACI conventions yet. We're still trying to figure out. So background for the viewers, SDSU is going into their fourth year of the CIM program. So we're
Oh,
still
wow.
figuring things out, kind of what do we need to go to, who do we need to be involved with. So 3 out of those 4 years, we've had an ACI club. So we do have a vice president, we have a secretary, a treasurer. We meet about once or twice a month, kind of depending on what our schedule looks like. And that includes like guest speakers, activities, and everything else. So again, I am the president of the ACI club, but I'm also the president and the founder of a Women in Concrete and Construction club. We just
Oh,
started
very nice.
last March, and I wanted to start it so the girls in the program and in the construction program had somewhere to go to share, common challenges or common interests because it is a very heavy male dominated field and women do belong in the field. Whether
Mhm.
we get told we don't or we don't have the support, we do belong here because just like everyone else, this is our job, this is our passion, and we want to make a difference just as much as men do. So
That's
I
awesome.
made the club for the women and we do activities based around leadership, business, concrete. We have women in the industry come and talk to us about kind of what have they challenged or what have they been challenged with? How have they overcome it? And then what we should do to apply it. So those are just two of the clubs that I'm involved in. Other than that, we're still kind of new, so we're still trying to figure it out.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've had a lot of chance to get involved with ACI. Um, I got involved early and really looking at getting involved with competitions. But quickly I ended up also getting involved with leadership. So the last academic year, I was serving as the president. Um, I noticed that, when I started, we were in a similar place for different reasons, but we were kind of felt like we were starting from scratch. Um, and I stepped down from president this year because I felt it was important that we got to make sure that we're dealing with transitions and not just it's good
Mhm.
if I can get things going, but it's not good if it just abruptly stops as soon as I leave.
I
And
know
so,
that's where I'm at because
yeah,
I've been
it's a trick.
president the past 3 years and now I'm leaving in December. So it's like, okay, we need to start this transition period. So if I have to help the person kind of understand what do they need to do, I can start doing that now.
Yeah. Yeah, so I've got just a little bit more time. I unfortunately I'm not graduating early. In some ways I'm jealous, but in the other ways it gives me that opportunity to take that little bit of time to work with the crew. And I've had some chances to work with our new team coming up and try to encourage them and help them. And we're trying some different things to, manage that and diversify leadership there and bring along some committees and stuff like that. The flip side is I'm not totally out of it. I've been leading the competition teams this semester, and we've been working hard on our pervious concrete. Um, and so, yeah, I've been involved with that for a while. So I've gotten to attend a lot of ACI conferences and compete there. Have you had a chance to attend any ACI conferences yet?
We have not. No, we
Okay.
really just hit like NRMCA or World of Concrete, and then we just hit local events. I think in the future we are looking to hit ACI ones. Our goal is to kind of get more students involved because right now we don't have any competition teams or
Mm.
anything. So we're looking to get students more involved and set that up before we go to the ACI convention. And then while we're there, we can say, oh, here's what we've been working on as a club back in South Dakota. So I
Well,
would within the next 2, maybe a year or so, then we'll start going.
I think you definitely gotta work on getting there next semester because they've got the concrete bowling ball competition next semester, and that's always a fun one. So you might
Well,
have to. Well,
gosh,
I know you won't get to because you're graduating, but you should encourage the crew to step
now
up.
now I'm jealous because
Yeah.
actually, background story, I
Okay.
competitively bowled for 4 years in high school.
Oh,
So
that's funny.
I know the ins and out of bowling. I know what the inside of a bowling ball should look like. So now I'm a little jealous that I won't be around for that.
Oh, that's too bad. Well, that sounds awesome. One thing I will tell you, the ACI conference is really cool. So one other way it's given me an opportunity to get involved. particularly just get involved with research. I had an opportunity last semester to present that research again at an undergraduate research seminar. Um, and I've also had a chance. So, like I mentioned previously, I'd gotten involved with doing some sculptures out of concrete, and I've gotten involved with one of the committees there that's helping to develop and encourage uh, aesthetics in concrete. So, hoping
Oh,
to make concrete last a little longer because we like the way it looks. So it's a cool opportunity, and I've really enjoyed getting involved there.
so is the aesthetics in concrete that they're talking about, is that maybe like a countertop, a stamped like barrier, or what is their aesthetics kind of look like?
I mean, I think it's really just looking for everywhere and anywhere we can encourage thinking
Hmm.
about how can we make this concrete prettier,
Yeah.
because if we like it, it's another dimension of sustainability. If we like it, we're going to be less likely to tear it down, and the less we tear things down, that contributes to our sustainable efforts.
Yeah, and so not directly in Brookings, but about 7 minutes west of Brookings is a small town. It's called Volga. And actually, there it's a shop. It's called Artisans Concrete. And we've had the opportunity to work with Chad and his wife there. And they actually do what it says, artisan concrete. They make
Yeah.
countertops, they make retaining walls. And for our patrons event, he actually made a cornhole set out of concrete. And it had the CIM logo on every and like the whole 9 yards. And he does an amazing job with like the aesthetics in concrete and how he can like help his customers have lasting concrete and the lasting effects. So it's kind of amazing that way down in Texas, you're talking about aesthetics and concrete. And then in South Dakota, we're kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah. Well, and I love that that's a member of your patrons board. I know that, like, for both of us, we have a bunch of incredible people that are helping to develop this program and make it possible. We have so much industry support, and I personally have had an amazing experience in our CIM program. I think it's
Yes.
provided some amazing opportunities to grow and to get experiences that are going to provide for like amazing career opportunities. And
Yeah.
uh,
Do you
you know,
know
I've go ahead.
Do you know how many patrons you guys have for the Texas program?
It changes a lot, but it's somewhere in the around 60, I think.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of where we're sitting at too, is
Yeah.
around like late 50s, 60s. That's kind of
Yeah.
where we're at as well.
Yeah. So I think it's been an incredible experience to be in the program. I think we've both had really rewarding
Mhm.
experiences. Um, and maybe that's a good place to wrap up this conversation, just expressing what I think we both had really good experiences as we're coming to the end of our time in our programs.
College career, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I just want to emphasize that with the patrons and the industry support, they also grant us scholarships to go
Hmm.
to school, and they are gracious enough to donate and give money so that like students like Joseph and I can go to World of Concrete, we can go to ConAg, we can go to NRMCA, we can meet people from around the country who we wouldn't be able to meet if we just stayed in Brookings or if we stayed in San Marcos. So that's just another thing I want to emphasize on is our program really relies on that patron support. And like us as students, we work so hard in the program and in our internships because we really want to show them that what they're doing for us is also setting ourselves up for success. And we just want to give the same success in return.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so maybe we could just encourage our listeners to go on and learn a little bit more about the CIM program. I know a lot of folks aren't as familiar with it, and
yes.
it's a growing program, and we can always use more support and just get the word out there more.
Yeah,
I
and
think we'll say, oh, go ahead.
well, and with Joseph saying that a lot of people don't know about it. So, yes, Joseph is from the Texas program and I'm from the South Dakota program, but there are only 5 states in the United States that have this. So, Texas, South Dakota, California, New Jersey, and Tennessee. And there
Yeah.
is a master's program for it, but it is out of Tennessee. So that's
Hmm.
why it's not a very known program because it is so small. But we work on getting the word out.
That's right. All right. Well, thanks again for joining us. And thanks to everyone for listening to this month's episode of Engineering Greatness. Join us each month as ACI brings together pairs of young professionals in the concrete industry to engage in intimate conversations about their life and work. I know we've done that today. So be sure to subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. And for more information on American Concrete Institutes, visit online at concrete.org. We'll see you next time.